we're on to lesson number 2 of the RD program. In lesson 2, we're going to have students actually do a survey or some kind of exploration around the intelligences. We want to have students know what are some of their strengths and some of their challenges. There's many different surveys on the internet that you can use. There are surveys in books and so on. I use one that I found. But what we want to do, and we don't really care what the outcome of the survey is per se, what we want to do is give students a chance to reflect on, I never thought about that, oh, I am intelligent in that way. Before you give students a survey, there are 2 critical things you need to talk to students about. The first thing we need to say to students is that nobody is perfect at everything. They can expect that some of them they're going to have as strengths and some they're going to have as challenges, and so does everybody. The second thing you need to tell them is that the exact scores don't matter. Whether you got 7 out of 10 for verbal linguistic or 5 out of 10 for verbal linguistic doesn't matter. What matters is, in the end, is your bar graph sort of profile, so that you can look at, relatively speaking, because we all have a bar graph of intelligences. What are our strengths? What are the ways in which we learn really well? And what are the ways that are a little more challenging for us, each of us as individuals? And so then I have the students do the survey, and normally through all grades I will read the survey because we don't want to make this a reading task. I'll read the items and the students simply put a check mark if that's true for them. And then they create a bar graph and are able to share that bar graph with their peers as we go through. At the end of lesson 2, we want to have students do another reflection. So we want to ask them, as they look at their bar graph, do they feel that it's realistic, or were there surprises in that? If there were surprises in what they see on their bar graph, why? We want to think about what's the possibility. The survey could be wrong. That's one possibility, and that's okay. Or was something identified that they had never really thought of as their strength, but actually, yes, I do like to do that, or I do have some talent in that area. So we're helping students. The survey is working as a mirror to give them some reflection about who they are as learners. When we move into lesson 3 of the RD program, lesson 3 is a very, very powerful piece. In the research about this program, students identified lesson 3 as the most important piece of the RD program. So we really want to take some time for this particular lesson. In lesson 3 of the RD program, we build what we call our community brain. The community brain is simply a piece of plasticine that's been molded to look like a brain. Generally speaking, I give every student a piece of plasticine, they roll it into a snake, and we pile them together to make a squiggly mound that looks like a brain. Onto that brain, each student is going to place a flag. Younger students, I pre-make the flags. Older students, they can make their own. It's generally just a toothpick and a piece of construction paper. It's nothing fancy. But before they write on that flag, we have a class meeting. So we bring everybody into circle to talk about it. And I talk to the students about the significance of that flag. There are 2 main significant pieces to that flag. The first is they're going to write their name and an intelligence that is one of their strengths on that flag. And so the first important piece for them to know is that as they write that onto their flag and they place that flag into the brain, that it means they have something to be proud of. There is something they are good at, that is valuable, and that they can contribute to the community. And it doesn't matter what that is. It doesn't have to be a school smart per se. If they're a great athlete and they want to put body kinesthetic onto that flag, that's great. Then if somebody in the classroom wants to learn how to play basketball or wants to work on their shot or whatever it is, that student can serve as a coach. If they're someone who's a really good friend, that's great. Then someone who has no one to play with at recess, that person will be inviting them to play. So all of these intelligences are valuable within our community, right through to the high school level, because even things we think of as friends and so on, as maybe for younger students or recess, leadership skills are key in the high school setting. So are kinesthetic pieces and being able to construct and build and create models and so on. So all of these are going to be valuable within our classroom community. The second piece is that what they write on that flag is a responsibility. They're making a commitment to bring that strength to the community. And so we talk about what we mean by commitment, that when they place their name with that strength on into the brain, other students may ask them for help in that area. And the expectation is that they will help. We take some time to talk about what helping means. That helping doesn't mean going, what? That's easy. Helping also doesn't mean doing it for them. That helping means teaching others how to do what you know how to do. And so we talk about the responsibility of placing that flag in the brain. Afterwards, the students decide which of the intelligences, and it's completely their choice, that they want to place on the flag and their name, and they place them into the brain. This allows us to now have a symbol of our community and all of the different strengths and diversity that we bring. Very quickly, the brain becomes a symbol. The students know who's good at different pieces, and they will go to them without looking at the brain. But in younger years, in the beginning, it is a great visual for students. So if a student comes to ask me for help, I will direct them to the brain and say, go look at who has strength and who can help you. It gets rid of the lineup at the teacher's desk. It builds a rapport between students that we can count on each other for support. And I can count on you that if I say I'm having a problem with this, you won't make fun of me and you will support me in that. So it creates that teamwork kind of atmosphere in the classroom that we want. And very quickly it becomes symbolic. Older students no longer need to go to the brain anymore, quite soon after we create it. But it's an amazingly powerful symbol. And I remember being in my grade 7 class as we were cleaning up before spring break, and I went to pick up the brain in order to dust and clean the counters. And one of the students shouted at me, "What are you doing with that?" And all the students turned around. It was clear they thought I was going to throw it out because it had gotten dusty and dirty. But the symbolic importance of that brain to them was quite high. So you want to create that classroom brain. You want to put it in some place where the students are able to see it and have access to it as a symbol of the community.